Total no BS recruiting advice and perspective from Andy Fulenwider from CSU Bakersfield. You will hear so many golden nuggets right now about how to approach team dynamics, partner dynamics, how to approach your practices, how to approach life so you get ready to be recruited and play in college. He'll drop wisdom on how to cultivate your X factor. What is that thing that makes you unique and stand out so that coaches can focus on you and makes them want you. If you want a brutal honesty recruiting advice and a nudge on embracing to be different as a player, as a human being, then this one is the right one for you. Let's go. Total no BS recruiting advice and perspective from Andy Fulenwider from CSU Bakersfield. You will hear so many golden nuggets right now about how to approach team dynamics, partner dynamics, how to approach your practices, how to approach life so you get ready to be recruited and play in college. He'll drop wisdom on how to cultivate your X factor. What is that thing that makes you unique and stand out so that coaches can focus on you and makes them want you. If you want a brutal honesty recruiting advice and a nudge on embracing to be different as a player, as a human being, then this one is the right one for you. Let's go. If you can unhinge yourself a little bit, it makes it for a bit more genuine and I would say that honest conversation. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, that's one thing about me. I'm as authentic as I'm gonna get. So it's just I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and because that's the same thing. Like with recruits, like they need to know all of it, right? You know, it's like I'll ask girls on phone calls, like, ask me the tough questions. Like, tell me if I've had to deal with certain situations because, you know, I think a lot of coaches will just give you the fluff, right? Mm-hmm. And like, well, no, I want to know like real, like what do you do in this situation? How does this happen? Because if you're not transparent to these athletes, then you're doing them a disservice, right? You're just trying to sell them a bill of goods to get them to a school, and then surprise, surprise when you show up, right? Like that, nobody wants that. So like I said, I'm pretty real.
That's right. Go right here. Like you told them, you tell them all the hard stuff. So what does it usually is with your experience?
Well, you know, like I guess the hard, like maybe those hard questions to ask a coach, like something that I learned. I was like, how do you deal with conflict, right? What is your culture like? Where has your culture failed, right? I think a lot of these kids, I mean, obviously culture is a magic buzzword, right? Everybody's in a culture. And it's an important deal, but like, is it real culture? Is it like people just don't walk into, oh, this is amazing and it's perfect. Like it just doesn't happen because every year you've got players coming in, coming out, new faces, new personalities. So there's growth that takes place in there. It's like as a coach, I can tell you what my expectations for the culture are. Because we'll sit down and we'll set those together every single year. What are our goals this year? What are our core values this year? And then what do we need to help each other get there, right? And you're gonna have if you're doing it right, you're gonna have healthy conflict. But it's within that healthy conflict that you help people grow, and you help them conform to the culture that ideally we want as a team. So but I'm talking to somebody. It's fair game. It's like, what do you want to know? Right? Have you ever had to cut somebody? Absolutely. Like, what was that situation like? Why? Did you try and work with that person ahead of time? Absolutely. Like, there's all these things, like, because eventually you're gonna learn these things on your own. You know, like you come in as a freshman, people that are seniors, like they know the tone that is set and where we're trying to get to. But like, feel free to ask, because if I can't tell you, then that's on me, right? That's not a good position to be in if I'm just trying to tell you, oh yeah, perfect, everybody loves each other and it's we sit around a fire, you know. No, it's like it's just not that way, right? It's a day in and day out grind to get everybody to buy into everything and do exactly what's required. Nobody wants to have those difficult conversations, but they have to happen, right? You know what I mean? Like, and you have to hold each other accountable. Yeah. So, you know, that's like from a culture side. And you know, I just think that as transparent as I can be, the best. You know, so you're gonna get what I am as a coach. Long story short, I've coached a lot of top Division I athletes, right? Coming up through the club programs, private training stuff back home in San Diego, and they'll still come back because I have a court at my house, right? So they'll still come back and they'll play. I mean, I can't train them per se because that's a violation, right? But they'll come back and they'll train at the house with some of their other people, and I'll hang out with their parents, and me and their parents are still friends, right? So it's like I hear the stories,
Mhm.
and then I see them on TV, the national championships, and they're like, we're just one big family, and I'm like, you are a liar, because it's like I know the drama that you tell me, so it's
Right.
kind of like just be real with it, right? So again, like our program isn't perfect, but we're always striving to be that way.
This is amazing. I think a lot of players need to hear that, and not only, I mean, your college, but all the teams need to be aware of the tough stuff, right? Because to be honest, they'll probably gonna encounter it more often than the good stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a rude awakening that happens when players get to a college program, especially when you're coming into an elite program. So if you're going into a top, let's just call it, I'll throw it out there. Like, let's just go into your top 10 school.
Right.
You're walking into a program with a bunch of alphas,
Mhm.
and you are competing as an alpha, and everybody is out for each other because they want their job.
Right.
Right. At the end of the day, if you're on a scholarship, you are getting paid to perform.
Mhm.
Right. And I think the expectation has to be set that, like, if a coach is investing financially into you, they expect something out of you. Like,
Mhm.
scholarships are not charity. It's you have a job to do. And I value you. And it could be, maybe it's not your first year in when I expect you to make an impact. Maybe it's your second, but you're walking into a program where everybody wants to be the best and everybody's working to be the best. You can't just want to be the best. It's what are you willing to do to get it, right? So when you walk into those programs, like, sometimes people are like, oh, I didn't know it was like this. Or, wow, yeah, I should have been working out all summer. Now I'm practicing 5 days a week and training and lifting 4 days a week. So there's a big eye-opening experience, and my players have it too when they come in.
Is that true? It sounds almost like these kids are waking up from a dream that they will play in college, and then they get in and there's like, holy smokes, I did not see this coming.
Yeah. No, I've had multiple players over the years.
Uh-huh.
Again, so coming up through the club ranks, right? So I'll
Right.
watch players, and I can watch their work ethic.
Mhm.
This is part of me coaching at the Division I level, right? But I'll see them, and they're seniors, and they get this, whatever you want to call it, senioritis,
Mhm.
right? Where it's kind of like, oh, I made it. Like, I got signed, I'm good. Like, no. Like, I tell my girls all the time, like, from day one, what got you here doesn't get you there. Like, your talent at the junior level, honestly, awesome, great achievements. Don't care. Like,
Right.
what I care about is what you do now. So your ability got you in the door. What are you going to do with it now? So I think they feel like, oh, I'm okay. And it's not everybody. Don't get me wrong, right? You're going to have players that have an elite mindset already, and they're just grinding day in and day out. Those aren't the ones you're worried about, right? But it's the ones that, like, feel this weight off their shoulders, like, okay, I can relax now. And I'm like, the moment you get signed, like, that's awesome. That's a hell of an achievement. Now it's time to get to work. Because, I mean, hopefully you don't just get signed and, yes, I've made it, I'm done. It's like, no, I just got signed. Now I want to prove I belong, and I want to work my way to these ranks and work my way into the lineup. So again, it's not everybody, but I think if you're looking at schools that maybe, I don't know, arbitrarily, if you go like 30 and down, you're going to have a couple mix of players that are just like, yeah, I made it. And then when they get there, it's a rude awakening.
Wow. So I'm going to put a pin right here to talk about this. I would like to hear your perspective and your opinion, and I think it's invaluable for the girls and their parents to hear about this. How, with this perspective and with this knowledge, how do you recruit those girls? How deep you let yourself go? How far you can research and see what the work ethic and the mentality and the culture is, and so we can explore it a little further down the road.
Sure.
And so just to give parents and athletes the idea. So this is going to be your third season.
This will be my third season at Bakersfield.
Third season. And man, you've done some big leaps and wins you had last season, right?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Well, again, for me, I'm like, I look at those wins and it's just like, those are great accomplishments for the program, right? But like from an elite athlete mindset, I'm still not satisfied. You know what I mean? Like that's just how that goes, right? So I know my girls were super excited to like upset multiple numbers. Like I think Georgia State was 15 at the time. I think it had been like 15 towards the end. You know, we had never beaten Pepperdine in school history or Hawaii for that matter. And we come out and we take care of business that way, right? And those are milestones within the program. Those are like these girls own a piece of history, and that's something they can forever take with them, right? But at the same time, there's the dissatisfaction and the frustration for them also losing to teams that maybe they shouldn't have lost to per se, or teams that they were capable of beating but then just failed to execute, things like that, right? So like we will absolutely celebrate those victories, but we will live in that depth of despair a little bit, because it's down at that bottom that you find out, okay, what got me here? What can I do to get myself out of here? I want to own that feeling of like being upset, right? I want to own that. I want to feel that as an athlete, like live in those emotions, rise the edges of the emotions, but don't ever let it like dictate your behavior, right? Per se, like live in that, like, man, this shouldn't have happened. And then it's like, okay, what am I doing tomorrow morning? Even if the season is over, what am I doing tomorrow morning to get me better for next time? Right. So it's just kind of, there's that, but we try to instill that so these girls can ride those highs. And when they hit those valleys again, they know like, hey, you know what? This valley still isn't as low as that last one I came from. And now there's another peak to get to. So, I mean, hopefully that kind of answers a little bit of that, but
that's, yeah, it's a great, helps people understand how you drive it. But you think you can dive a little bit deeper? What were you coming with into Bakersfield, and what, let's say there's a coach that listens to it and has a club or is an assistant coach or is a D1 coach or D2 coach and wants to build that team, wants to give it a momentum, which you clearly did. So what were your steps? What did you do to bring the girls into this journey?
It starts with my drive, like in knowing that I'm here for a purpose, right? So I think as an athlete, well, you'll find that I'll talk around in circles and I'll tell you stories, but we'll always get back to that part of it, right? Because I just feel it's a little bit more meaningful, right? Because I can give you real examples other than fluff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, I had a purpose. I knew what my purpose was. It was to make an impact in Bakersfield where I grew up, because without volleyball, I wouldn't be where I was. And it all started back in Bakersfield. So I'm like, you know what? I want to apply for that job. I want to see if I can do something great and build a legacy for volleyball in Bakersfield. Because honestly, you don't think of Bakersfield as a hotbed of beach volleyball.
Not really, no.
I mean, so it's kind of like, all right. Well, so it's like, okay, how do we get there? So I took just, the different training methods that I've grown up with and or had the privilege of being around some amazing coaches. And we just started grinding. And the first year, our offensive system that we run, depending on if they're capable of doing it in the moment, but we're heavy option and we're option or jump set stuff. We started that 3 years ago. So we were like the first team in the NCAA to actually run it as a system. But again, I learned that whole system. I mean, granted, we'll do it time to time. Back in the day as kids, things are just kind of funky and you got to get out of I call it getting out of jail, right? So you had to be able to get yourself out of trouble. But, obviously on the professional men's side, that's the systems we were running with those teams. And so it was like, you know what, I'm going to take that and I'm going to throw it into the women's college game, because I'm a firm believer that women can do it too. So it's like the women's game has historically tried to play catch up in what it's doing on the men's side. So I'm like, you know what, forget playing catch up. Let's be the forefront. Let's change the way that that collegiate beach volleyball is done in this program. So when we did that, like, we surprised a lot of schools because they didn't understand it and they didn't know what to do. So we're running spread passes, we're running jump sets to the pin. And so I'm taking these, what you might call, like, I don't know, maybe they're not elite athletes yet, but I'm training them as they are professional players. I'm like, I'm going to give you the information to be successful. At the end of the day, it is just a tool. You can use it, you can not use it, but when it is done correctly, you're going to surprise a lot of people. And that's what we've been doing. And that's why we were successful, it's because we're trying to stay on the forefront of things. Like I don't know, I would consider ourselves kind of a smaller team, right? Like, I don't know, our biggest blocker is maybe like 6 foot. So, sometimes you got some monsters out there. There's some 6'4" girls, 6'5" girls. But again, I take things that I was successful in, and as a smaller player, and again, don't get me wrong, like what worked for me doesn't work for everybody. And so it's my job as a coach to be like, okay, I want you to understand this, take what you can from it to apply it to your game to make you better, right? So I know for me, like I jumped well, but like you put a 6'6" block in front of me and we're going up and down, I'm 5'10". Well, I think I shrunk now, but like, so it's like, dude, like that's a hard day for me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to run your butt off. I'm going to make you chase me. Because if you can't keep up with me, then my net is open to score, right? So it's like trying to get them to think outside of the traditional box and evolve their game exponentially. And so that's kind of the reason that we were successful, because we start thinking differently. Like we do a crap ton of work on vision, because most people aren't looking, right? They're looking at the ball. So it's kind of like I teach the girls when to look, how to look, what they're looking for, when to make your moves on defense, when somebody's looking. Like there's all these little things that maybe they weren't necessarily getting before, or don't necessarily get too involved at the juniors level. And so, I mean, again, I think that's one of the reasons we're successful. The athletes that I had listened, and the ones that didn't aren't here anymore. Right. So like, I mean, that's the truth of that,
That speaks volume of your mindset and your thinking about the game. It's sometimes it's very hard. New guy comes on the job, or a girl, right? And they just think about, how do I not mess up, right? It seems like you're coming with a mindset, how can I make this a winning machine? How can I make these girls better?
Trying to, like, so like you said, the mindset of thinking, how do I not mess up, right? Like, this was something that I just talked to the girls about today. And it's like, if you're focused on, oh, well, how can I not do something, like your mind is naturally thinking about the bad, and so it's like, okay, like forget the bad, like, all right, yeah, I don't want something to happen, but at the same time, like, no, I'm not even going to think about being bad, like I'm going to think about being great. And so if I can do that, my mindset is focused on how do I be great, not how can I not be bad. Does that make sense? Right.
Totally.
So it's like, it's the same. I think it's a simple concept, it's the same thing, but all I did is just reframed it. Right, I just reframed it into something positive versus sitting on something negative. Like, give you another good example. And like I said, here we go, talking around in circles. But like, I got a couple players that they'll talk a lot in between their play when they mess up. Right, when they come back together, and it's just like, oh, I'll set you tighter. No, that was me. Okay, no, I'll do that. I'm like, girls, you're living in your crap, right? Like you just screwed something up. So I'm spending 6 seconds sitting here talking back and forth about the negative when I should just be like, hey, all good. Next ball, right? Now I can focus on the next play at hand, and I'm not sitting the entire time right before the serve thinking about how I messed up. Right. Is that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, having the right mindset is the very first step. You have to be aware of something first, right? And then you're taking all those steps after to get you there.
Is this hard to? Are you encountering a lot of mental obstacles in these girls' mindsets, or how would you describe that?
No, for sure there is, right? But what I try to do, like, again, our program, we don't have a ton of money, we don't have psychologists on staff, right? So like the outside resources are limited for our players when it comes to the mental side of things. So again, I'm not some mental performance coach, right? I'll listen to things and try and educate myself. So I am the mental coach for these girls, and I will just spit knowledge at them left and right. And eventually, like, hopefully it starts to sink in. But when I see an opportunity to be teachable in a moment, then I'll call it out and say, hey, how else can we do this right now? So give me a good example. We talk about slowing the game down, right? If you're struggling or something, take a little bit extra time, go fix your line, things like that. But it's kind of like I try and get them to understand. I'm like, look, from a perspective of an athlete, if I'm watching you play and I can see you are trying to slow that game down, if I'm in my right headspace, I'm like, I'm in her head. So it's kind of like, you know what? Like, as much as you can reset, don't walk over to the line and go super slow. And then just be like, take a couple. I'm like, see that? Like, I own you now, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, all right, your opponent should never see that weakness sign. Fine. Walk over to the line normal. Like, a couple of the professional players I have, like, I've worked with in the past, they might walk outside the court, right? Fix that ball mark. So walked over, looked at the ball mark, fixed it. That was their way to wash it away, step back on the court, next ball. Like, they went over, covered the divot, boom, on the court, done. It wasn't like this drawn out process of let me take 5 deep breaths. I'm like, dude, if you're taking 5 deep breaths, I'm going to smile at you and I'm going to serve you. Right. And so, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, don't let anybody see what's happening. Right. And so those are some of the most obvious ones. Right. Now, that's kind of that strategy of like, okay, opponent looking at opponent. But from the internal side, like, I try and just see the small little nuances in their body language during practice so I can tell when that switch kind of flipped. Right. And then it's like, okay, if I can see it, if it's an appropriate time, like, I'll try and address it and be like, look, hey, I can see this right now. What's going through your head? And if they're like, we're just so frustrated, I'm like, okay, well, that happened there. That was in the past. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, I got to make sure I get this ball in. I'm like, okay, well, now you're worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet. So now you're in the future. Like, you can only be where your feet are at. So none of that other stuff, like the future stuff hadn't even happened yet. So stop thinking about it. Like, focus on your pass and take care of the next play. Because I find a lot of these girls think way too much. And some of the best players in the world will tell you, like, well, you know, like, if you're in the flow state or the zone or whatever you want to call it, like, you're not thinking, you're just doing, right? So it's how to get yourself out of that thinking cycle to just go do. It starts by being present in the moment, right? So it's trying to get them to understand those little things. And I'll show stories of, you know, people I've worked with. I'll share stories, like, as much as I remember of myself, I'm like, I'm sure in my head, I'm sure I'm a lot better now than I was, right? Just because naturally it happens when you get older, right? But it's like, as much as I can remember how I dealt with things or how I've seen other people deal with things, I'll give them real life examples and just be like, look, like, everybody struggles through something. And it's like, I don't know, use like the nervousness, right? Okay. Right. I tell them, like, look, like, chemicals, that's all it is, just chemicals. The same chemical as being excited, right? All about how you look at it. You could go, man, I'm nervous. Okay. If you're just about to get on a roller coaster and you're excited, you're going to feel that same feeling. So stop telling yourself you're nervous. Start telling yourself you're excited. Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. Again, I tell the girls all the time, I'm like, very simple concepts, very difficult to do, right? So, like, it takes practice and it takes work. But if I don't call it out when I see it and help them through those processes, they're probably not doing that lonely mental work on their own outside of practice.
Right.
You know, so I'll send them stuff by Gervais or whatever, like podcasts, things like that. But and I'll make them take notes because I have enough hours to use. And I'm like, all right, girls, like, you're watching this hour podcast and you're sending me all your takeaways and how you're going to apply what they talked about today in practice tomorrow. And so it's I don't know, it's trying. You just got to try, you know. So,
Andy, this sounds, I mean, the girls are lucky to have you.
Yeah, I think that's what people understand and can relate to. You know, it's like, I'm educated, but at the same time, I try and be real, you know, and I will tell you like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat something per se. I mean, everybody, I'm going to have to, as a job, as a coach, my job is to know how to get the most out of each player. And I may not address you the same way or have that same conversation as I might have with somebody else, because maybe I can be more blunt with you. Maybe you take that criticism. Maybe I need to be a little bit softer over here and massage it, right? The points stay the same, but it's how do I do that to get the most out of it? And don't get me wrong, there's no magic pill to it. Not everybody can do it. You know, that not everybody has that same mental fortitude, right? But my job is to hopefully get you to the point where it doesn't take as long for you to break mentally. Like, because that's the definition of like mental toughness, right? Like, how quick can you break? You know, if you're breaking super early, then you're not very mentally tough. But also, like, how quickly do you recover from those things?
Hey there, are you really serious about your D1 dreams? Playing beach volleyball in college? And does this whole recruiting process feels like a black box to you where you don't really know what to do and what the coaches are looking for? Well, you're not the only one, but I may have a solution for you. But before we'll get to that, let me ask you, are you really serious about your dreams? Because if yes, then you need to step up and take ownership of your actions. And the best way to do it is get out and start researching information. Now, there's not much information about this whole process and what coaches are looking for, is there? Well, so for this exact reason, I created this library of conversations with D1 beach coaches so you can learn and understand what are their green flags, what are their red flags, what are they looking for, who they really want on the team, who they really don't want on the team. And all this information will help you triangulate yourself and navigate this process with much more confidence and with success at the end. You can find me on YouTube or become a part of my community directly. You get way more information as a part of the community, but YouTube will do fine. So what you waiting for? Get in, I'll see you on the inside, and let's navigate the process with confidence. And if you need more help, just contact me, and I'll help you figure out how to make your dreams come true. All right? So let's go.
And so it's trying to get these girls to understand that it is okay, and this is natural, and this is human, right? Know where you're at today, and let's do everything we can to get 1% better tomorrow at it, and then the next day, just a little bit better the next day. Or if you screwed something up, at least you were self-aware enough to be like, hey, you know what? Looking back, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. But at least you're aware now, right? And those are those little steps to get you better. And so, and to tell you the straight up truth, we should have, this is me as an athlete, right? My first year in, we tied the school record in wins. Now, we should have demolished the school record in wins. But it came down to mental side,
right?
Where pressure was on, and for lack of a better word, they couldn't handle it. There was multiple matches that we lost, came down 2-2, and we lost in the third, 15-13. And so, you know what I mean? Yeah, right? So, as an elite athlete, I'm going to look back at those moments, and yeah, it bothers me, right? But I know enough to know that I can't control it and I can't change it. All I can do is work from the future on to try and make sure that doesn't happen again, right? And so again, that's mental, right? That's the mental side of things. What do you do with that energy that you've gotten from those defeats, right? So, those are all those little things that I try and I'll bring it up to the girls. Just be like, look, yeah, it still bothers me that we lost 2 years ago because I'm not satisfied. Like I told him the other day, I'm like, look, yes, if we get to the national championship, probably not going to happen in the conference that we're in, but if we get to the national championship and we lose, don't get to be pissed. I'm happy we got to the national championship. That's an awesome achievement. I'm mad that we lost. Why did we lose? What do we need to do better to make sure we don't lose? But that's that never satisfied mentality. Right. And so I'm trying to drive that in. And I think if you can get to that mentality, then everything else, you are willing to work for everything else, and you will get better faster.
That's amazing. I had a question. So in the light of these things that you just said, how did you, or whether it changed or not, tell me all about it. How did you define success for your team before the first season, before the second season, and right now, before your third season? What was your, okay, this is at the end, if this happens, I'm glad, or how did it change, and how do you evaluate it during the season? You feel like, oh, I'm far from it. How do I adjust? Tell me all about it, because I think this is important for the girls to understand what team and what maestro they are getting towards if they are going to Bakersfield.
Success is not all about wins and losses, right? That's just numbers on a sheet, right? So, I'll give you a good example. In the years past, the schedule that Bakersfield had wasn't a very tough schedule, right? They go play some top schools, right? And that's awesome. It's a great experience. But it was, I personally feel the schedule is set up to be more successful on paper, right? Well, when I came in, yes, the first schedule was a little tougher. I added a few things, but then the second year in, I'm like, no, sometimes my success is not numbers. My success is on the volleyball side is your growth as an athlete. Are you getting better, right? Are you improving? At what rate are you improving? Are you enjoying the program? Like, are you happy here? Do you want to stay? Can I feed you so that you can be the best person that you can be? Right? Like, those are all those values that, to me, that I'll take a losing season with personal growth where these kids are like, dude, this was the best experience that I ever had. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else, even if it is more frills, like better weights, better whatever, like all this stuff. Like, I love it here. Like, I've got a couple players right now that could go pretty much anywhere they want, but they're staying through graduation because they love it here instead of hopping in the portal. I've had one tell me, like, if you weren't here, I'd have been out fast. I'm like, dude, like, it just, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's those, to me, that's success. Like, I'm feeding into these kids, because that's, at the end of the day, that's about, like, this blip of your collegiate career, so small. Everything else is like, I got to build you into a good human, you know? So, like, I've seen massive personal growth in a few of these players coming in as very, very hard personalities, maybe not necessarily getting along, or like, you know, I wouldn't say getting along in that sense, but like not gelling right, like, you know, not being accepting of other people's personalities, or more along the lines of, well, this is what I need and they're not giving it to me as a partner. So then I've had to flip their mind and be like, dude, like, it ain't about you. Like, as a partner, if I'm on the court with you, my job, I shouldn't be thinking about me. I should be thinking about you. What do I need to give you in order to get the best out of you? And vice versa. Because when you're thinking about somebody else, you're not thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about your errors. If I go make an error on a play, if I can turn my attention to you and think about you and the team, I'm not thinking about that error anymore. Right. So, like, it's giving them all these, like, I don't know, like, emotional IQ. Right. I'm giving them all these tools, and I'm watching them grow as people on the court and off the court. So, like, that stuff is successful to me. Like, my administration, yes, we want to win. Am I going to get fired for not winning? No. Okay. Like, they know that what we're building here and what we're trying to do. And, like, I think it's showing in our results, but it's also showing in the people that we're graduating out. So it's my measurement of success is way more than just the volleyball subject. Absolutely. Do I want to win? 100%. Are we going to win all the time? No. But we can go get beat up by some people and learn from it. There's no such, I tell the girls, like, there's no such thing as a bad loss if you're learning from it. It's like, so we went, like, one of our preseason tournaments, we go play Cal Poly, LMU, and Stanford. Are we expected to win? No. Can we win? Sure. Everybody's beatable, right? Are these teams coming in thinking, Bakersfield's, it's just Bakersfield? Yeah, probably. But that's when you sneak up on people, right? So now we're playing these top teams with zero expectation. And it becomes like, that's when you play free. When you're worried about winning, that's a hard moment to be in. It's a lot of extra stress. But if I can walk out on the court and be like, whatever, I don't care. Let's go. Like, I don't care who you are or what the stats say on that side. You're just a human. I'm a human. You're fallible. I can beat you, right? And so it's like, it's that mentality. So I think setting our schedule up the way I did last year helped breed some of that. You know, I've told the girls before, when we play some of these top teams, I'm like, this was an interesting one. So my very first year, like, we played Hawaii in our Big West Championship first year. And I'm like, all right, look, girls, I'm gonna tell you the most freeing thing ever. And they're like, all right. I'm like, nobody out here expects you to win. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, nobody thinks you're gonna win. I'm like, so go just freaking ball. Go ball. Show them what you got. Flush the error, doesn't matter. You're gonna make errors. Okay. As soon as you realize that, the more freed you are. So I'm like, but all you need to understand is, if you can go out and take that first set, they're gonna be in trouble. So what do? We all five across, boom, they all won the first set.
No way.
Yeah. We lost that first year, we lost to Hawaii, but every team went 3.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was like, but it was their mindset. Like, it was just like, I don't care, let's go. And so that's what I try and get them to understand. That's why we play some teams that we got no business beating. But it's like, dude, like, I'm giving you the opportunity to learn how to play free from all that emotion, so that hopefully when you're playing the teams that you should beat, you're still playing free without all that stuff, you know? So I don't know. It's kind of like a roundabout way of getting through a lot of different things, but, you know, that's, to me, that's a success. Yeah, we lost to Hawaii. But dude, for us, those were wins, right? You find that teachable moment, you find the small wins in the losses, and you look back and go like, I had some girls going like, dude, this is the best I ever played. I'm like, good, like that's awesome, and then the next year they're exponentially better because of that confidence, right? So I don't know, it's kind of, I could go on forever about that stuff, but
Well, thank you. I mean, it seems like you're giving them a really safe space to play at, and plus you're giving them a tools to think and play outside of the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with setting up this non-standard, let's say, game of options and jump setting and playing wide and wild and fast, it just gives them this understanding of the game. Okay, I can do it because I trained that.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah. And then when you play against teams that try and do it to you, it's like, oh, this is easy. Like, we don't get burnt very much on two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are trying to set balls over on two. Why? Because we do options all day long in practice, right? So, like, even if, that's what I try and tell the girls, I'm like, even if this is not, you don't, like, yes, I want you to do it. I'm not the start guard. You have to do this, right? My job is to get you to be the best version of you. Right. I've got some girls like they don't have any business jump setting. They don't need to do it. Like, so I'm not going to force them to do it, but I'm going to give them a tool because like, hey, you never know when you have to break it out, And so it's like setting them up for success in those ways. I think really, like, again, it's just a tool, but it challenges them. It puts them in a spot where, yeah, it can be challenging to go up and down if your mind is right and you're really trying to fine tune exactly your touch on that ball. It's a lot more challenging to try and run fast spread offense. It's like, it's problem solving, right? And so if I can teach you how to solve problems, then I'm setting you up to solve problems on defense. You're watching these things, you're learning from these things. Like, oh, I've played against this all day. I know to protect my setter first because they're my first threat on the option. And now I can just get reset once I realize they're not. Like, it's just all these things. So they're problem solving their way through a match instead of just playing a game. I think I think a lot of players watch the whole game versus watching each little component of the game, breaking it down into its smallest thing, right? And it happens really fast, right? It's like on defense, like, watching approach footwork, watching when they leave the ground, watch if their hips start to turn a little bit on that jump, where that ball is at in relation to their head. If that ball is out over here, you're only going over here. If it's over here, you're only going over here. Like, it's all these little things, but that happens so fast with eye sequencing. But what are you doing? You're problem solving, right? So, yeah. So.
Yeah, this, it feels like you're the embodiment of the saying that says you don't raise to the level of your expectations, but you fall to the level of your systems. Like, you're giving them systems and hey, there's no expectations, just you do you. That's amazing. What do you think outside of this beach mentality or team mentality, what do you think would be the things that define or things specific to Bakersfield beach team?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think it's the relationship that myself and my assistant coach have with our players. Right. I think that is true. That is truly unique. Again, like, kind of goes back to, what I come up Sunday night from San Diego, I crash at a buddy's place, and I go home Friday night.
Wow.
What else am I going to do? So I hang out in the office, and I'm here for these girls for whatever they need. Sometimes girls will come in like at 6 o'clock at night. I get here like at 6 o'clock in the morning. I usually don't leave till like after 6. And so I'm in here available for them. Right? They want to come in and watch film, I'll watch film. They want to come in and talk about the day they had. Awesome. Like, I've got players, sometimes they'll come in and they'll sit in the office for like 2 hours. I have snacks that they can just eat. Right. And so it's just like, they just come and they hang out. Wow. Like, I've helped players like fix ACs on their cars. I've helped them change flat tires. It's just like, I'm just there for them. I'm a father of daughters, right? My daughters are these girls' ages. So it's like, when I'm gone, like, I want to be here to help these girls, but that cultivates that relationship, right? But having that relationship cultivates trust. So I think it starts with, the relationship that we have, and then everything builds off of that. I think our culture is strong. Every year it has gotten better. And every year I try and better myself on, okay, like, what can I learn from other coaches? What can I learn? Like, how do I incorporate some of those things that are effective in those programs and see if I can make them effective here? Like, I stole one of our main rule from Pete Carroll's. Like, our main rule is always protect the team. And it's like in any action we do, are we protecting the team? That's from, are we talking about people? Like, we're running through those filters. Like, is it kind? Is it necessary? Are you telling the truth? Is it uplifting? If it's not any of those things, then don't say it, right? Because then I'm not protecting my teammates. If we're, again, these girls, they're college girls, right? Some are going to have more fun than others. But it's like, if you're at a party and your teammate's about to make a poor decision, like, if you don't step in and say something, you're not protecting your team, right? So it's like having each other's back in that regard. And it is not perfect, right, by any means. But it's one of those things, like, I tell the girls all the time, like, you can't be perfect. It's unattainable. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be striving that direction, because you can't be, again, goes back to not being satisfied, right? I'm not satisfied with anything because I could always get better at it, right? And so it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think that comes into play a lot, trying to get these girls to understand, like, it is okay to hold each other accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable because that means I care. If you're not holding each other accountable in practice to work your butt off, or like you go easy on some rep or something, like, it's a disservice to somebody else. So it's like incorporating those things. It's like, if I'm not constantly striving to be the best version of myself, I'm not getting the best out of you. So that's not fair to you. I'm not taking care of you in that way. Right? Does that kind of make sense? So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of things I think that make us unique. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to put a pin in just like one.
Well, I was not thinking about just one. This is what I was looking for. I think you described it perfectly, as a culture, as a aspirational value, observational value. And so you're showing them that you care, right? And they have someone, they have the safe space. And from that, everything stems out. Well, he cares. I should care too, or I want to care too. It makes us better. And protect the team is a really good thing. You can apply. It sounds like you can apply to so many different areas of that college experience, right?
Absolutely. And like, even just providing each other with grace. If you understanding your teammates on a personal level, like, sometimes when maybe something happens in practice, that, hey, you know what? Maybe what she said wasn't the way she meant it. Or maybe that action right here, like, maybe she's having a hard day. Like, you don't ever know what you sometimes do, but like, for the most part, you don't know what your teammates come to practice with that day. Some big trauma or some little trauma, right? So like, it's one of those things where it's like, I need to provide you grace. I still need to be able to communicate, have healthy communication with you. And sometimes there's tough conversations, right? But it's like, hey, you know what? Like, I didn't appreciate what you said right there. And then you should be comfortable enough as a teammate going, you know what? I'm sorry. Like, I had a rough morning this morning. Like, I apologize. Done. You took ownership and took accountability, but I provided you the grace to do that. So I don't know. It's just all that little stuff. It's like, it goes so far to make something so great, I guess. Like,
well, it feels like you're doing God's work. So thank you for that on behalf of the girls. No, honestly, throughout my life, I've encountered so many situations the girls or growing kids are put into, and it's not safe. And they can't be themselves, and they don't know how to get out of there or how to deal with that situation. So you giving them these tools and that space, that's amazing. That sets them up for life.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, you learn a lot through sport. If you really sit down and think about that, like, maybe so here's a good example. Like, today, I mean, we have like a week and a half left before we go on break for like 2 months. So today I like jumbled partners all around. And it's kind of like, all right, what do you do with this right now? Now you've got somebody that you've never really played with, and now you're competing against somebody else. Like, how do I get the best out of it? But it's kind of like they have these tools and these abilities to try and get the best out of their partners now. But that's life. Like, you're going to work with people that you don't like. Like I've played with guys that I did not really like off the court, but we did well. We won money. So it was like, okay, like we're united around a common goal. Like
Right.
that goal is to win, right? And that's the same thing on the court. I tell them like, look, yes, everybody wants their team to be their best friends. I'm like, probably not gonna happen, right? Some of my best friends are people that I played with, right? But it's like you got 19 personalities on a team. Like you're naturally going to gravitate towards people that are like you anyway. Like you're probably not going to be best friends with these 19 people, but you're going to have some really strong relationships with some of them. But you're also going to be united around a common goal, which is to make each other the best version of themselves as possible, and hopefully to win in the process. So it's like maybe in a work situation, you got coworkers that you have to work with that you just don't necessarily get along with, but you got a job to do. So you got to get it done. Exactly. And so now this is the life skill that you can carry with you. And how do you relate to people like that? And how do you get the best out of them for the overall development of something?
So in the face of these things, in the face of your mindset and culture and philosophy, what are your non-negotiables traits when you look for players?
Well, I mean, I think it all kind of ends up coming back and comparing to like our core value. Like what are some of those, and just to hit on some of them, I mean, it's like a real big one is no whining, complaining, or excuses, right? So if I'm watching somebody play, I'm scouting somebody or whatever, or like trying to recruit them, and I'm watching how they interact with their partners, just being a good partner, right? Like if I got bad body language, I'm not being a good partner. If I'm the way I speak to you as a partner, oh no, you need to set me better, or okay, well no, maybe you should have just adjusted and took care of that ball. So it's like, okay, so I'm looking at those little things, like, are you complaining? Are you making excuses? Like, honestly, like sometimes, well, I'll listen to parents too, because I'm sitting back there watching, and I'll listen to parents make excuses for their kid. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's never gonna fly here. Like, you're doing your child a disservice. Like, yes, there's times where if my partner's shanking a ball off the court, left or right, like, yeah, maybe I couldn't have done a whole lot. But if we're just not in system, am I doing my job to get us back in system with my setting? Am I looking for opportunities, the option to get them out of serve receive? Because sometimes that's all it takes, just to reset yourself. So it's like, or am I just sitting there going, well, she couldn't side out today, and that's why we lost. Okay. You know what I mean? I was like, that's not gonna cut it, right? So there's that. Are you accountable? Are you selfless? Gratitude is a huge thing, right? Like, how do you interact with your parents? Are you saying thank you? Do you say thanks to the refs? Do you thank the other team? Do you, are you demanding of your parent, like, Mom, I need this? Or is it like, hey, Mom, can you please get me this? Or, it's how do you speak to people that way? So I look at everything or every action or try and listen, like, and compare those to our core values and like, okay, do you fit? If you don't, how can I help you to fit? Right? Because there's like, again, you don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Nobody is perfect, and we all have things to work on. And so that's my job as a coach. How do I get the best out of you?
Did you like this conversation? It was pretty good, wasn't it? I have more for you. I have conversations with D1 coaches, experts, and all the tools and guides and whatever you can think of to succeed on your D1 journey and fulfill your D1 dreams. So what you waiting for? Jump right in, and I'll see you on the inside. And if you need more help, just contact me, and I'll help you make your dreams come true. All right? Until later.